Hi guys, it's Mishel, Deception Bytes, and I am bringing you new Q. This is actually, I'm starting with a couple posts that are left over from Sunday night that I didn't include in the previous video. We're going to start there and we're going to go through Monday's posts. Today is Tuesday. Q has been posting today, but I'm going to bring that in a later video today. So let's get started. So this is the first Q post. This is picking up from where we left off in the last video, May 13th, and he gives us a link. So let's go take a look at what the link is. All right, so this is the link, and it is it says, we are Americans, former senior officials and policy experts, academics, and civil society leaders who have seen firsthand how the United States is stronger, safer, and more respected in the world when we stand strong with our allies, pursue principled diplomacy, and stay true to the values that have long defined America at home and abroad. Now, interestingly enough, these people, and let's get, this doesn't seem to be the home page. This is the home page for National Security Action. And they, this is their mission statement. National Security Action is dedicated to advancing American global leadership and opposing the reckless policies of the Trump administration that endanger our national security and undermine U.S. strength in the world. How about that? Interestingly enough, most of the people that are serving on this, I guess, board or committee or whatever you would call it, are former Obama. They were formerly in the Obama administration. So not surprising, but these are their goals. They want to bring together and mobilize an unparalleled network of former senior officials and policy experts, academics, civil society leaders who are dedicated to the progressive vision of American global leadership. So what's not being said there is, you know, anyone following Trump, of course, is not dedicated to a progressive vision of American global leadership, and that's what they believe. So, you know, obviously this is going to be a group of former Obamaites and who are Democratic. And they also want to shine a bright light on the Trump administration's reckless policies, underscoring their dangerous consequences and equipping Americans with the arguments to counter them. Yes, they need to equip Americans with arguments to counter them because Americans aren't able to think for themselves, obviously. I mean, that's what they're saying, right? You know, you people, you Trump followers are so stupid, we're going to have to arm you with the arguments to be able to counter their arguments, right? Or you, no, actually, they're talking to the Democrats there because they're wanting to arm the Democrats with, you know, arguments against the Trump people. So anyway, they want to develop compelling messaging and communication strategy. They want to serving as a resource for allies, building strong, unified, progressive opposition. So their whole mission is to oppose the policies of the Trump administration. That's their whole mission. So let's go on. Obviously, Q has highlighted this to us for a purpose. So let's go forward. Now, this anon on the 8chan board went out and just grabbed up screenshots of the people on the committee. And these two were highlighted: Ben Rhodes, National Security Action co-chair, and Jake Sullivan, National Security Action co-chair. And these are people, this is the advisory council, and just some interesting names here. I know that this is small, but there we go. Barbara Boxer, I mean, you're going to recognize some of these names for sure. And So this Anon just kind of screenshotted this from the website, and also put down here, we are Americans, former senior officials and policy experts, academic and civil society leaders who have seen firsthand how the United States is stronger, safer, and more respected in the world when we stand strong with our allies, pursue principled diplomacy, and stay true to the values that have long defined America at home and abroad. So that's who these are. And Q down here responds to this Anon and just says, well done, Anon. Now, it's interesting here, and it got me thinking, because I thought, why is Q saying well done to this Anon that basically just took screenshots from a link that he'd already provided us? I mean, that's not really doing anything all that extraordinary, is it? I mean, any of us can go out and follow a link and do screenshots. So I wondered, okay, why is he doing that? And I don't know, but it brought me, and I could be totally off base. And like I've said many times, I've been wrong before, I'll be wrong again. But it reminded me of like Jesus when he says to his servants, well done, thou good and faithful servant. And so I don't know. I mean, I could be way off, but it just seems odd that this person took screenshots and, Q says, well done, Anon. To me, it seems odd. But anyway, let's push forward. I'm not going to spend all the time like highlighting each one of these people, because I just don't think it's all that important, because the important people are going to be brought out. So let's push on to the next post. And now this is something that I grabbed from someone's page, and I'm not sure whose page I grabbed this from now, to tell you the truth. I may have grabbed it from the boards, or I may have grabbed it from Twitter. And it says National Security Action press release, the launch of National Security Action. And this is February 27th, 2018 press release. So this committee has not existed that long. And it's interesting that their whole agenda is to oppose Trump. That's their entire agenda. So this says, brings together and mobilizes an unparalleled network of hundreds of former senior officials and policy experts, academic, and we did read part of this before, academics and civil society leaders across the country who are dedicated to a progressive vision of American global leadership, shines a bright light on the Trump administration's reckless policy. So we did highlight this before and read. Now, it's interesting here because this person has highlighted this, and Trump has talked about a bridge many times. Now, whether this is related to that, I don't know. I would doubt it, but who knows? But this person has just highlighted bridge, and serves as a bridge between the policy and political worlds to shape the national security debates that are taking place in Washington and around the country in advance of the midterm elections and the next presidential election. So they're getting out ahead of the midterm elections and trying to influence thought and trying to give other Democrats the tools that they need to counter the arguments from the Trump camp. So that's their whole purpose. And because, and it says to get, and the next presidential election, because they're saying, heck no, we don't want him in for a second term. Provides a resource for allies in Congress, grassroots organizations, and emerging leaders in Washington and across the country who share our vision, values, and sense of purpose. Builds a strong, unified, progressive opposition to the Trump administration's dangerous policies, which are making the United States less safe and diminishing our standing and influence in the world. Is that so? Okay. I would say the exact opposite is what's happening, but to each their own. So let's go ahead here. I did grab some things of interest. Okay, I did put a note here that this was taken from x22report.com. They have some interesting things there, and I do use them and resource them quite often. So just as a plug for them, because I don't want to be stealing something off their site without giving them, credit for it. So this is a tweet, and again, I got it from X22, not from Twitter directly, but it says the National Security Action is supposed to be the left's version of Q. Left goes to their website to organize and for counter arguments and insights. So it really is. If you look at it and you think about it, that website is it's the anti-Q. You've got Q, now you got the anti-Q, and it's anti-Q because that's where the opposition goes to get their arguments, to get their talking points, to be able to fight, to get all worked up, and to, whatever. So, interesting. Now, yes, and this was from X22 as well. Most of these guys are ex-Obama staffers, but you've even got the likes of former Senator Barbara Boxer in there, and Tom Daschle of all people. Susan Rice is also in there, and remember, she was the one that authorized the unmasking of Trump team during the 2016 campaign with those FISA warrants. She also now is on the Netflix board of directors and no doubt helped influence their decision to create a series starring Hussein himself. Of course, Hussein is Obama. Modern propaganda, and the best part is the American people are subsidizing it. These are all swamp creatures who have allied themselves in opposition to Trump. Yes. So, let's go up to the, yes, this is another thing I've grabbed. And I just kind of sandwiched these in between the Q posts because I wanted to give understanding and not just pass over. I wanted to help us to give us a more rounded view of what's happening. So here we've got, this was taken from the 8chan board, and it says, let me see if I can make this a little bigger. That's not what it says. Actually, it doesn't say, let me see if I can make this bigger. I just said that. Those were my words. Okay. Clinton aide Jake Sullivan meets with House Russia investigators. Okay. Top Hillary Clinton advisor Jake Sullivan met privately Tuesday with several House Intelligence Committee members to discuss how the Clinton campaign came to suspect and then allege Russian meddling amid the election. According to a panel member who attended the meeting, Sullivan at one point noted that Robbie Mook, Clinton's campaign manager, had as early as July 2016 publicly raised the issue of Russian involvement in the leaking of thousands of hacked Democratic Party emails. The meeting with Sullivan was behind closed doors as the House Intelligence Committee continues its probe into Russia's activities during the campaign, but wasn't a classified session, the member said. In fact, no panel Republicans were on hand for the get-together held in the personal office of the committee's top Democrat Representative Adam Schiff. Well, there's little Adam Schiff again. Little Adam Schiffy Pants. Okay, so the committee's top Democrat Representative Adam Schiff of California, according to another person familiar with the meeting. That person said the agenda was to discuss not just the Clinton campaign's observation of Russian activity, but also what Russia is currently doing in Europe and elsewhere amid new forms of informational warfare. The meeting wasn't part of the committee's formal Russia investigation, the person said. Well, naturally, no. Yeah. Okay, let me make this a little smaller so I can put this into perspective again. And we'll continue on. This is something else that was grabbed. I think this was grabbed. Let me see. Let me go back up here. See what this is. Okay, this is actually from the X22 site as well. So I'm gonna start at the top here and go down through because we haven't progressed to the next Q post yet. I'm still trying to give you some background here and fill in some gaps. All right. Now, Ben Rhodes, now, and these are all people connected to this committee. Ben Rhodes is tied to Obama, and Reynolds is Michelle Obama's brother. Reynolds being a Loop CEO. Ah, Loop CEO. Where have we heard Loop before? Loop Capital. They're tied to all sorts of crap. There is also a Sidley Dillard that was on the board for Barack Hussein Obama's Presidential Library. CMTE, what is that, a committee? Sorry. Ben Rhodes was press secretary and had no or very low clearance, but always handled Barack Hussein Obama's intel for him in the White House, similar to how Huma did with Hillary Rodham Clinton. Susan Rice would definitely be connected through Obama and possibly others. Same with Samantha Powers. So these are just anons that are making, comments about how these people are connected to, Barack Obama and Hillary Rodham Clinton. And this little commentary is from X22. Now this is interesting. Looks like Q is saying national security action is funded by Loop Capital, the same Chicago-based investment group that backed and groomed Obama for the presidency. Incredibly corrupt group of financiers who are not only siphoning money from taxpayers and laundering funds internationally, but actively working to subvert the U.S. Yep, that's them. Thought that was a good comment. Wanted to include it. So this is a comment by another anon, snipped from the board. And it says, although much of Obama's success can be attributed to his vision, personal skills, and leadership, no amount of credit goes to a powerful circle of black business leaders in Chicago. In addition to Logan, they include Valerie Jarrett, CEO of real estate management firm The Habitat Company and now co-head of Obama's transition team, Jim Reynolds, CEO of investment bank Loop Capital Markets. Oh, that's fascinating, isn't it? John Rogers, CEO of mutual fund icon Ariel Investments, Quinton Primo III, CEO of commercial real estate development company Capri Capital Partners, and Frank Clark, CEO of electric utility Commonwealth Edison. So I'm not going to go all through this because that was the important thing. Jim Reynolds, CEO of investment bank Loop Capital Markets. Well, it's funny how, as we're going along now, everything's tying together. And these little bits that were thrown out in the beginning of when he started to post, Q, and I say he, but he, she, they, these little things that were thrown out are all woven together into this tight tapestry. And at first, we were looking at the back, and I know I've used this analogy before with you guys, but it was like we're looking at the back, and there's just this mess of strings everywhere, and you're going, oh my gosh, this doesn't make any sense at all. But as we've progressed, Q is slowly turning that tapestry over, and we're going, oh my gosh, because you're seeing that that mess of threads forms something. It's not just a mess of threads. And that's what the people that are coming against Q and saying that this is all nonsense and blah, 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 that's what they don't seem to get. How many, these aren't coincidences. And hopefully in the next few days, I'm going to come to you with a lot of proofs for you to counter some of this disinformation that's coming against us. So let's, right here is circled, and it says, Americans deserve a president and commander-in-chief who is disciplined, level-headed. And that comes straight from their website, the website that we looked at earlier. Americans deserve a president and commander-in-chief who is disciplined. Like, as if Trump isn't disciplined? Are you kidding me? He becomes a billionaire, multi-billionaire, but he's not disciplined? You kidding me? Level-headed, trustworthy, and who respects the democratic traditions, and institutions that have made the United States secure at home and a beacon around the world. Was he the one that was selling our uranium? Was he the one that was selling out our country? Our president should make us proud. Well, I'll say our president does make us proud, and we should never feel ashamed by his or her conduct. No. A lot of nerve. Like, seriously. It's like they're living in opposite world. Like, black is white and white is black. And you know something, and I know that you're not all believers, but scripture tells us that in the last days, they'll say they'll say good is evil, and evil, they will call good evil, and they will call evil good. That's exactly where we are right now. That's exactly what these people do. They look at good being done and they call it evil. And this evil that they're engaged in, this swamp, they call that good. They call that fair and equitable. They call that justice. I don't think so. So now, moving on to the next Q post, we've got this anon. Well, Q, no, actually, this isn't an anon. This is Q pointing to himself, and this was the first one we read with the link to the nationalsecurity.action.org and who we are. And now Q is referring to that and says loop, period, Q. Well, as soon as he brought that up, of course, we think Loop Capital. And Loop Capital, as it turns out, has their dirty hands all up in that pie. So, interesting. And Loop Capital was brought up, oh gosh, months and months and months and months ago. And it was thrown out there, and we saw all the crap that it was associated with and all its dirty little tentacles. And now we're finding more. And that is so Q, that he throws something out in the beginning and then we see later how it weaves into everything. So interesting. Now, this anon, May 13th, says FBI and DOJ must clean. Once cleaned, implications huge. Don't forget the judges, though, many comped. So Q responds to this. And Q says, why are Democrats slow-walking POTUS Fed-J nominations? Watch what happens. Then he's got a kill box, or what we have now, or refer to as a kill box now, the square brackets around -30. Now, to me, that means in less than 30 days. That's how I would read that. So watch what happens in less than 30 days. That's what I feel he's saying there. Q. So let's go take a boo at these two links. And these are just, these are not provided by Q. These are just my own links that to give us more information here. And it says, actually, I think I'm going to go to, yeah, sorry, let me do this one first because it'll make more sense that way. Trump nominates 10 new judges, including one for Ninth Circuit Court. President Donald Trump on Thursday announced the nominations of 10 new judges, including one to the Ninth Circuit and 7 to courts across New York. Ryan Nelson, Trump's pick for a Ninth Circuit vacancy, currently works as general counsel for multi-level marketing company Melaleuca Inc., which sells wellness products. I know they sell tea tree oil and all sorts of stuff. Nelson was initially nominated to serve as solicitor for the Department of the Interior in 2017. The Senate Energy and National Resources Committee approved Nelson in January, but Democrats have held up his nomination and prevented a vote in the full Senate. What's new with that? Trump withdrew Nelson's nomination on Thursday, shortly after announcing his intent to put him up for the Ninth Circuit vacancy. Nelson is a veteran of the Senate Judiciary Committee, having served as special counsel for Supreme Court nominations to then-Senator Jeff Sessions. Nelson also spent time in the Bush administration, having worked as Deputy Assistant Attorney General for the Environment and National Resources Division at the Department of Justice. So now let's go to the second link, and it's here. With 15 circuit judge confirmations and a dozen pending, Trump looks to reshape the courts. President Trump has won confirmation of 15 circuit judges, but he still has a long way to go in reshaping the courts because most of those picks have replaced retiring Republicans rather than adding to the party's overall numbers. So far, Mr. Trump has not dramatically altered the makeup of any of the 12 circuit courts of appeals. But with dozens of circuit court nominees pending, that could soon change. In several circuits, and I'm not sure why this little thing is in the middle there, so we can't see what this says, but let's go below. Okay, 8 new circuit judges is inherently a big deal. It's a lot of fresh blood, said Joseph Tartakovsky, constitutional law fellow at the Claremont Institute. So, and the whole thing isn't there for me to read to you, but it's no wonder with Trump looking to reshape the courts why they're slow walking the nominations, right? If we were in their position, we might try the same strategy. I would if I was on the opposite side. So, all right, now let's continue on. So here, an anon on the 8chan board is pointing back to the same link that we first looked at with the national security action, and they put just a comment below, the shadow government. And interestingly enough, Q picked up on that and is referring to it here. So usually when he doesn't say yay or nay, it's an acknowledgement, like like it's a nod in their direction. Because if it's not right, Q always says, corrects or adds, but he doesn't. He just acknowledges. Well, his very acknowledgement of it shows his approval of it. So, and his nod of, that's what they are. So, here's the next Q post. Again, May 13th. Let's go up to this one that he's referring to. This anon and writes, Q is saying there won't be arrests until the justice system is cleaned out. And of course, we've already discussed all that and why it makes sense, because you can't have a dirty judge, ruling on something that he may be involved in himself, directly or indirectly. So yeah, it needs to be clean. Q is saying there won't be arrests until the justice system is cleaned out. That has to include state judges. Do you have any idea how long that will take? We are now looking at next year for the rest of POTUS judges to be confirmed. That's just federal judges, doesn't include state. Yeah. Who among us really thought that this was going to be a quick process? Realistically. Like those of us that are over 20. Well, maybe over 30. Because, if you've lived a while, this stuff is going to take time. You just can't go in there and, some actions are predicated on the next, or like the next action is dependent on this action, and it's got to be done in succession. So that's what's happening here. Now, Q responds to this person and says, what must happen pre-11/11? Now, if you recall, 11/11 is the date of the military parade. But I'm telling you, that date bothers me. And I'm just being honest, and I'll tell you something. I'm always going to tell you the truth as I see it. If I'm incorrect, I will come to you and say so. And correct myself. Sometimes people correct me in the comments below, which I have no problem with whatsoever, because the important thing is that the right information get out. So I'll tell you why it bothers me, though. Because this is a Luciferian number. That is the number of the Luciferians. And they don't... And I know also, I think it's Remembrance Day, if I'm not sure, or Veterans Day in the States. I'm not sure. Hang on. I've been out of the States for a while now. I can't remember. When is Veterans? Yeah. Yeah, November 11th is Veterans Day. I just automatically, because ours is... but it's observed November 12th. Okay, well, it could be that reason, and I hope that's all it is. That would be great, but it bothers me because it's 11/11, and because of what I've been involved in, I've been kind of trained to take a look at numbers because they're never usually in situations like this. They're not just random. They have meaning and they send signals, and so. Now, this is also a Luciferian number per Aleister Crowley, as quoted from Book of the Law. And he's quoting as Lucifer, "My number is 11, as all their numbers who are of us." So, to the Luciferians, 11 is the number of Lucifer. So, that's why that bothered me, 11/11. So, take it for what it is. Take it for what it's worth. I'm going to throw that out there whenever I see it, because I am a believer and I know that there are other believers that are listening to me. So I feel that I would be doing a disservice not mentioning it. But it could be just nothing nefarious at all, and in, for Veterans Day. So let's move on. And then Q says 11/11 provided as strategic marker. So that date is a strategic marker for something. And he says post midterms. So it's after the midterms. Red wave coming? Well, apparently, because red is Republican. I mean, I know we all know that. So they're talking about this blue wave, but Q's saying, red wave. It's going to be red. Red tide coming in. So, and then he says strength, period. Justice, period. Q. So that military parade is of the utmost importance. It is a marker. Interesting that also the number 11, and I hate to dwell on this, but I have to, if you don't take it, just discard it. There's lots of things that I can respect somebody, but I don't agree with everything they say. And I don't expect you to believe everything I say. I hope you don't. If you do, then you're a fool. You should check out anything anybody says. So anyway. But what I was going to say is that in the occult, 11 is also a portal into the next. So it's like, anyway. Okay, I'll let that go there. All right. And here is Q one more time. And this is May 13th. I'm going to make sure he's not. No, that's right. Okay. And this is, oh, I see why that's down there like that. Okay. He says trust must be earned. Absolutely. Trust is not blind, nor is truth. We fight every, and notice here he makes a typo. And remember that Q said every typo, everything has meaning. So the fact that he has not corrected this typo tells us that it was intentional, because any typo that's been a real typo, he's corrected. So truth must be earned. Trust is not blind, nor is truth. We fight every single is what it's supposed to read, but it reads sigil day on behalf of you, the people who put us here. Now, here I wrote typo. Sigil is French for initials. So it's a masculine noun in French for initials, like somebody's initials. But interestingly enough, it's also the acronym for System for Information on Grey Literature in Europe. Now, what's grey literature? Well, grey literature is literature that exists but is not formally published. So this is a system for information on grey literature in Europe. So I don't know if either of those things are what this is referring to. I don't know. Could be, might not be. I don't see how either of these fit. And usually when you have a decode and it just fits hand in glove, it's like, oh, okay, that makes perfect sense. Well, I've got these two things, but to me, neither one of them makes sense in this situation. So, and I had wanted to check out one other thing that kept niggling away at me, but I haven't had an opportunity to do that yet, so I don't want to throw it out there because it just muddles things. We knew this day would come. We will never forget. Do not glorify us. We are merely the vehicle. You are what matters. You are hope. You are love. You are peace. Stay united. Stay together. Stay strong. This is bigger than any one person or entity. You are fighting for truth collectively. Will of the people. Trust in yourself. The choice will always be yours. God bless you all. Where we go one, we go all. Q plus. Now, I believe that when Q signs Q plus, it's meant to be coming from the team, the Q team. So this is signed Q plus. And really, there's nothing there below except for the SIGLE. There's nothing here that needs to be decoded. It's very straightforward. So we're going to go on. And I think this is another one where I've squashed information in between the two posts. So we're going to go up to the top of this and read down before we go on to the next Q post. Or we may not be able to do that because I think it's referring. Okay, here we go. I'm going to read the next post, and then I've squashed some things down here in there to help us elaborate on it or elucidate. So, not hallucinate. I did not tell you to hallucinate. All right. So here's the top. All right, and this is May 13th, and Q says, and he's quoting, a group representing German trade interests said that U.S. decision to withdraw from the deal will hit German companies and urged the EU to protect their interests. Trade between Germany and Iran reached 3.4 billion euros. That was 4 billion. Last year, according to BGA, another foreign trade association. What about Total SA? Well, Total SA is I don't think that's Q. This is not Q. This is, hang on. That should be in red. Okay. Total SA is a French multinational integrated oil and gas company and one of 7 super major oil companies in the world. So we're talking massive amounts of money here. And I just took this from their website. It's Total SA, Petroleum Refining Company, and that's their logo. But let's go out and take a quick boo at their site, just so we'll know. And this is massive, like massive, massive. Hang on one moment. I'm hearing my phone buzzing. Oh well. Sorry for that interruption. Okay, Now, I just went to this page because, I mean, this is a huge website and it could go on and on and on. But I went to this page because it has the key figures, key facts and figures. It's the fourth largest international oil and gas major with operations in more than 130 countries. Yes, that's 130. It's a global leader in LNG, a major player in low carbon energies, an integrated operator ranked among the top 10 international refining and petrochemicals. They have 98,000 employees as of January 31st, 2017. They made $149.7 billion in sales, $8.3 billion in adjusted net income, $1 billion allocated to R&D. 131 million metric tons of crude oil and refined products transported. And I'm not sure what an MBOE is per day, 2.5, but oh, here it is. Imagine that. They put the meaning down here. MBOE means millions of barrels of oil equivalent per day. So they've got more than 4 million customers per day in their service stations worldwide. So this isn't a little company. No little company. And we're not dealing with piddly amounts of money either. So let's go back. Now that we know who they are. Total SA is a French multinational, that's important, multinational integrated oil and gas company, and one of 7 super major oil companies in the world. Its businesses cover the entire oil and gas chain from crude oil and natural gas exploration and production to power generation, transportation, refining, petroleum product marketing, and international crude oil and product training. Now, Q provides us with this link. So let's go and take a look at the link. European businesses most affected by U.S. sanctions on Iran. Major companies, particularly in Europe, could see billions of dollars in commercial deals canceled because of the U.S. decision to reinstall sanctions on Iran. Though the ultimate impact remains unclear due to the possibility of renegotiations and exemptions, experts say. U.S. President Donald Trump's decision to withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal and reimpose sanctions on Iran means companies worldwide must stop doing business with the country or run afoul of the U.S. government, AP reported. Companies and countries with commercial deals with Iran could have either 90 or 180 days to wind down those activities, depending on the type of products being sanctioned, and firms would not be able to generate new business. Certain exemptions and waivers can be negotiated, but the U.S. did not say what products or countries might qualify. Since the Iran nuclear deal was struck in 2015, it was mainly European companies that moved back in to strike deals with Iran, making Trump's decision particularly painful for the region. U.S.-Iran sanctions are hardly hitting any U.S. companies, but aim primarily at European ones. Carl Bildt, the former leader of Sweden, who is now co-chair of the European Council on Foreign Relations, said in a tweet, "The EU has in the past found this utterly unacceptable," he added, though it was unclear still how European leaders would respond. So, like we've discussed before, this is nothing new. I was going to see if total is actually mentioned here. So, and this goes on and on. I am going to leave the link to the Q posts directly so that you can see them, and these links are included there. So instead of me trying to remember all the time, to put links in, I will just put the link into the Q post and you can check for yourself. because some of you may want to read this in its entirety, but it's just not practical for this type of forum for me to read everything in depth, like everything. So, as we've discussed before, Europe stands, the EU particularly, stands to lose a lot of money, a lot. And the total SA stands to lose a lot of money. It's a French company. So who would that concern? Well, Macron, right? So let's go back. Who recently visited the White House? Emmanuel Macron, right? And I showed you guys where he was doing the little devil's horns, and apparently somebody said that Trump tried to put his hands down. I have not seen that personally. I'm sure it exists out there because I've heard it from several people, but I haven't been able to find that exact. Put a link down below if you know where that is. Anyway, so he says, who recently visited the White House? Emmanuel Macron. What was their purpose? Well, to convince the U.S. to stay in the Iran deal, right? That was his whole purpose in coming. And Q says, a coincidence? Well, of course not. What about the safety and security of the world? Oh, did you think that that was what it was about? Because I never did. I never did think it was about the safety and security of the world. It's about money and power and who has it. What about preventing Iran nuclear capabilities? You really think they care about that? No, they care about their pocketbooks. Fake news. Yeah, that narrative about, oh, we're so concerned about the safety and security of the world. Oh no, the U.S. is going to get us all blown up. It's fake news. It's a false narrative being disseminated. Will the EU resort to protecting the deal so the money flow remains in place? Well, I think there's a good chance of that, right? Wouldn't you? If your money was threatened, wouldn't you do something? Of course you would. So, yeah, I think there's a really good chance of that. Then Q asks, why is Kerry in the EU? Well, I think that goes without saying, right? We know why these people like Obama and Kerry go behind or before POTUS, and they're undermining. So let's go to this link. Oh, I don't like that man, and it's a face only a horse could love. Anyway, John Kerry, Europe needs to believe in itself. U.S. decision to back away from Iran deal would make the world unsafe. Former U.S. Secretary of State says, oh yes, it's all about making the world safe. Everything. It's all about making us safe. They take away all our rights and freedoms. It's all about making us safe. Yeah, like they care. They put crap in our food. They poison our water. They spray our skies. But they're wanting to keep us safe. Yeah, right. Milan. Europe needs to show more confidence at a time when the world desperately needs leadership, former U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry said Monday night. We are at a very pivotal moment globally, Kerry said in a dinner in his honor in Milan, adding that the U.S. is battling over the soul of our country. He praised, well, how would he know? He doesn't even have a soul. I'm sorry, that's mean. That's mean. Okay, I back off of that. That was uncalled for. He praised the continent for its remarkable turnaround since World War II and had this advice: Europe needs to believe in itself. Oh my gosh. What kind of frou-frou is that? Kerry also voiced his concerns about the future of the Iran deal, which President Donald Trump has threatened to walk away from, leaving the agreement, which Kerry said actually makes it impossible for a country to get a nuclear weapon, would bring the world right back where we were when it was not a safe place because Iran had the potential to build 10 to 12 bombs in 2 months. Today, they can't build a bomb for at least 15 years, maybe longer, Kerry said. Right. Oh. Trump on Monday accused Kerry of conducting shadow diplomacy, which is exactly what he's doing, right? That's exactly what he's doing. To save the Iran deal, tweeting, "The United States does not need John Kerry's possibly illegal shadow diplomacy on the very badly negotiated Iran deal. He was the one that created this mess in the first place." Yes, he was. The president is expected to announce on Tuesday his decision on whether he will continue or terminate U.S. involvement in the Iran nuclear deal ahead of the Saturday deadline. And of course, we know that he did withdraw from the Iran deal, and we all applaud him for that decision. Let's go on. Will the U.S. be forced to ban and declare certain EU countries off limits? Well, that's a scary thought, and I wish I could answer that and say that I know, or I can surmise, but I don't know, and I can't surmise. I just don't know. Who controls elected leaders? Well, Soros? Rothschilds? Remember the pyramid that Q showed us at the beginning? In the bottom part of the pyramid, the base, was Saudi Arabia. And the two sides, one side was Soros and one side was Rothschilds. So since the bottom has already been taken out, wouldn't it be Soros or Rothschilds? That would be what I would surmise. Who do the elected leaders report to? Well, again, I would say, based on past intel that Q has given us, it would be Soros or Rothschilds. And then he says something interesting. Pickle. That's it. Pickle. Period. Now, it's interesting that an internal name for the CIA is the Pickle Factory. Does it have something to do with that? I don't know. Pickling is also, they produce, it's called pickled and hot rolled steel, I think. I forget now, but pickling is like it's a chemical that's produced, and it does something to metals. And I'm wondering, okay, is Total SA involved in that, and is that a part of this? Are they I don't know, but I think the most viable and probably the most reasonable explanation is that it's the internal name for the CIA, and also pickle means a tricky situation or a conundrum. So that makes sense, because he's saying right up here, will the U.S. be forced to ban and declare certain EU countries off limits? And then later he's saying pickle. Well, a pickle is a conundrum, and that's a conundrum if ever there was one. It's a tricky situation. So it could have a double meaning. It's a double meaning for pickle factory and a tricky situation, a conundrum. Love that word, conundrum. Conundrum. It just rolls off the tongue. I think I'll say it again. Conundrum. Everybody say it. Okay, I'm being silly now. I'll go on. Will the U.S. expose the names of corrupt officials plus con deal? We await your answer. 48. Now, at first I read this as 48 hours. Okay, but I'm going to go below because there's some alternate explanations that are viable. And one is, maybe I didn't put it below. One is that Arizona is the 48th state, and no name senator from Arizona. Don't know. Is he talking to him? Or is he saying you got 48 hours? Don't know. And then he says on guard, and that's interesting as well. Q. So now down below I've put several things to just kind of elucidate on this. Not hallucinate, we're not hallucinating. And bring a little bit more clarity, hopefully. Now, I made that too large. And all you people that keep saying, use your scrolly mouse. I don't have a mouse. I'm on a laptop. Okay, what the heck? Where did I go here? Where did I go? Where did I go? Come on. It kicked me all the way to the back, to the top. The nerve. Oh my gosh, we're not even halfway through. I might have to stop. I might have to do 3 videos today. Okay. All right, it's down here. All you people that say, make it bigger. Every time I make it bigger, I lose my place on the page. It drives me insane. All right. Guard. Old and irrelevant or just good sportsmanship. Now, this anon, and I know you can't read it, so I'm probably going to have to because I can't make it big enough and it's blurry. So this anon is pointing out in this post by Q on June 13th that he says on guard, and that was actually the post I just read that said on guard. And then he's saying it's chess. In chess, you say guard when one's move attacked the enemy queen. When one's move attacked the enemy queen, you say on guard. Okay? And this move in Capablanca versus Marshall is the last move the enemy makes before the game is over. Yeah, because once the queen's captured, it's all done then but the crying. So, is that what Q means? It's just about over. On guard. I've got your queen. Is that what he's saying? Maybe. Or is he saying on guard, keep your back up. Stay alert. Pay attention. It could be either one of those. And I don't favor one over the other. I would tend to believe maybe that it's related to the chess game, but again, Q always he has a fondness in his heart for double meanings. So now here we have, this is a CIA document. Now it says, hang on. An old salt opens up the pickle factory, and the pickle factory is CIA, and it says CIA Operations Center here, and that refers to this. It is hot as blazes in here. Okay. No one knows whether CIA spooks wind up in heaven or hell when they die, but wherever they are, they must be rattling their bones in protest. Barely a decade ago, almost no high officials in Washington talked directly about the Central Intelligence Agency. It was obliquely referred to as the Pickle Factory, or Our Friends, or Across the River, or more openly, the Agency, or the Company. When the CIA's $46 million headquarters opened along George Washington Memorial Parkway in suburban Langley, Virginia in 1961, the deceptive highway sign said only BPR for Bureau of Public Roads. Even Soviet KGB agents laughed about that. Finally, the sign was changed to read CIA. Now, candor has gone further. For the first time, a photographer from Time has been allowed to take some pictures of the people and operations inside the pickle factory. Guided public tours of Langley may soon be held, if only on Saturdays, but agents ready to come in out of the cold will be warned to stay out of sight to avoid a happenstance recognition by touring friends. Visitors will find that Langley looks much like other airport modern government office buildings. It has more guards than most including some behind thick glass walls on the executive floor, more desktop boxes with various colored covers to conceal their contents, more plastic wastebaskets whose contents are for burning, more locked cabinets, steel vaults, and restricted areas. Tourists presumably will not see the something. I'm not reading all that. They're opening it up, okay? That's all we need to know. And it was called the Pickle Factory. All right. And going down here. And this is a tweet, an anon included. It says, HJ Ansari Zarif's senior advisor, if Europeans stop trading with Iran and don't put pressure on U.S., then we will reveal which Western politicians and how much money they had received during nuclear negotiations to make Iran deal happen. That would be interesting. You betcha. Oh, yes. Would it ever? So interesting. That is a conundrum right there. Okay, if Europeans stop trading with us, and put pressure on the U.S., we're just going to tell the U.S., you know, which politicians and how much money they had received during the negotiations. How do you like that? I bet you there's a lot of depends being sold right now. No, seriously, I think I'm going to buy stock. Really. No, I'm not joking. I bet you there's some soiled underwear all over Washington right now. And that's what Q was referring to here, where he said, will the U.S. expose the names of corrupt officials plus con deal? Don't know. But then he's talking to somebody. We await your answer. 48. How interesting is that? Well, I'd say it's pretty darn interesting. But that's just me. All right. Now that was a long post. Now we've got this series of pictures coming up. I may break this off right after that because I've been going for a long time and I know that the longer videos, I mean, it wears me out, so it's got to wear you out. Here we go. And this is by Q, and he posts these lovely pictures of Bashar al-Assad, president of Syria. Oh, and there's our friend. A friend to horses everywhere. I know you probably don't get that, but it's fine. Yeah. They look cozy, don't they? Oh, and who's this? There's Assad with Nancy Pelosi. I wonder if she remembers being there. She might, if we show her the picture and reminder. Really, there she is. They look cozy too. And Q says full circle. And we've got an article about Huma Abedin's ties to the Muslim Brotherhood. Now, we've visited this like many times, and I'm not going to read all this, and you can't make me, but Huma Abedin's ties to the Muslim Brotherhood. The Clinton campaign is attempting once again. Uh-oh, here we go. Probably stuff's going to start talking to me here. Hate that, hate that. Have I mentioned how many times I've hate that? I hate it. I hate when that happens. Okay, the Clinton campaign is attempting once again to sweep important questions under the rug about top aide Huma Abedin, her family ties to the Muslim Brotherhood, and to Saudi Arabia and her role in the ballooning Clinton email scandal. The New York Post ran a detailed investigative piece over the weekend about Ms. Abedin's work at the Journal of Muslim Minority Affairs from 1995 through 2008, a Sharia law journal whose editor-in-chief was Abedin's own mother. Now, we have read this very article. We've read this before. So if you want to know more about Huma Abedin and her ties to the Muslim Brotherhood, I know that I've visited it in past videos, and I'm sure others have as well. So I don't think it's overly important. We know that those ties are there and documented. And Q says, full circle. And then what is this? Bachman letter responding to Ellison. We've looked at this before too, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Come on. Yeah, this was that letter that Michelle Bachman, I believe it was, yeah, Michelle Bachman, wrote to the Honorable Keith Ellison and about her ties to the Muslim Brotherhood, and documented. We went through all this. So, yeah. And again, if you want that, I'm going to leave the link to the Q post so you can just look for that link on there, because you know I'll forget. You know I will. I'm getting, I don't know, I'm becoming Nancy Pelosi. Okay. So let's go back. And Q says, it's all connected. Welcome back, Huma. Now comes the pain. Q. So, and down here, this is a little bit of, you know, narrative that I lifted actually from the x22.com. I want to make sure that I, you know, tell you where I've obtained it. Kerry met with Assad many times, but I believe this photo is from December 15th, 2015. Pelosi met with Assad on April 4th, 2007. Kerry was always trying to get Assad to step down, but couldn't get him to. I think we have to assume she was abroad somewhere, probably trying to gain protection, much like Obama, but that's just speculation. We didn't see her with Hillary Rodham Clinton in New Zealand, so where was she? And of course, they let her travel because they track her movements and expose more connections. Now comes the pain. Yep. That's what Q says. Now comes the pain. So I think I'm going to leave it there, okay? Because this is a very full video at this point, and I will come back tonight and finish off. I may have to do 3 videos. I'm not sure. So I'll tell you one thing. All these links coming up in here, I'm not going to go to them all, but they're all links, you know, basically attacking Q, that it's a conspiracy. So that's the next one we will get to in the next video. So thank you guys for listening. If you want to subscribe, make sure, or you want to be subscribed, make sure you stay subscribed, because they drop subscribers, and hit the little bell for notification. And I hope you're having a wonderful day. Enjoy it and stay safe.